Hey guys! Welcome back to our channel. My name is Nox, the N of DNN.
And I'm Divine, the D of DNN. And we are so happy to have you guys kind of sit down, chit chat with us because we kind of have such an important, weighty, just amazing topic that we want to bring to you guys and kind of have your perspective but also have our perspectives from our different background. We want to talk about mental health since October is coming up and it is World Mental Health Month. We know in South Africa it was a month ago, so we want to make sure that we're not just kind of detached from what's going on,
right?
Especially when these are issues that don't just affect people that we know and love. Girl, it's me too, love.
Is us.
So yes, we want to talk about that from our different backgrounds, from a psychologist background and from a
medical doctor.
Listen, the doctor will see you now.
Yes,
we are ready.
So we are ready.
So keep watching. We don't want to make light of this, but we want to talk about it from our perspective, our flavor, and
bring you in. I think it's something that really needs to be spoken about, especially as girls who are under Christ.
Yes,
as Christian girls. So stay tuned.
Alright, so speaking about mental health, I am currently doing my honors in psychology, and my research, my initial topic, the one that I wanted to do, was the relationship between depression and religious commitment. And obviously I didn't go forth with that. I did another one for different reasons. But one of the things when I was doing my literature review and kind of going through the stuff was to define what is mental health. And so mental health wasn't just the absence or the presence of like good qualities, but also the absence of what was kind of abnormal in our behavior. And by abnormal, I don't mean crazy. I mean what was not good within the picture. So mental health for me is speaking about the presence of healthy behaviors, the presence of healthy mindset, the presence of healthy just being as an individual. So mental health for me is exactly that.
I think for me mental health is obviously, especially in the context that we live in the world, mental health is about actually sustaining mental health. Because what I realize is that all of us are going to go through some type of depressive episode, some type of sadness. I think there's a normal, physiological range where that can happen. But when it becomes too prolonged and it starts impairing your function, right now in medicine we are actually rotating in psychiatry. So when it starts to impair your function, your relationships, it starts impairing the way that you think about yourself. Then that's when it becomes, I would say, a
disorder.
Like a disorder or mental health that is obviously not healthy. Unhealthy mindset. Something along those lines. So that's what mental health is for me, because actually as human beings we are supposed to have a relatively healthy mind. There are things, and I think what's important is, and we'll dive into it, is that the state of our mind is an accumulation of experiences. That's what I found out. And I might even say experiences dealt with and undealt with.
Yes.
So,
sure. That's really deep. Okay, now when we look at mental health disorders, you have different ones, obviously. You have personality disorders, you have mood disorders, you have depression, you have anxiety, you have bipolar, you have schizophrenia, you have borderline personality disorders, you have narcissistic personality disorders. But I mean, those go along, there's a lot of them. And I think for us, we want to focus on what we've experienced personally.
And what we think you guys also mostly struggle with, which
definitely. Depression, anxiety, bipolar. I think you can't take people places you've never been. So it would be very hypocritical for me to sit and be like, I understand and I can empathize if I've never been there. And that doesn't mean if you don't struggle with these issues or if you've never struggled with these issues, you are out of the conversation. I think part of being humane and being human is to be able to have these conversations, even if it's not your first-hand experience, but to be able to say, you know what, I might not feel exactly how you feel, but I can kind of understand and still have sympathy for somebody. I think that's very important. So
that was great. Nothing more to add to that. Okay, guys, so we're gonna start with anxiety. I think with anxiety, there's a medical jargon in terms, but I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. I, to be one, have not experienced anxiety for most of my life until I'd honestly say this year. And my anxieties was more related to my academics. Now you have anxieties that is normal, which is what we call nervousness. So nervousness is basically when you know there's a big event coming and you're going to be presenting, like I had with Free State Fashion Week, or when you're writing a test and you've studied or maybe you've not studied and you're just feeling that what is it? That pit in your stomach, and you're kind of feeling like, okay, maybe a little sweaty, you're feeling a bit frantic. That's sometimes normal, most of the time it's normal, but there's that anxiety that causes you to literally not be able to function. There's an anxiety where symptomatically you have things like hyperventilation, you have things like shortness of breath, you have sweaty palms, you're sweating, you can't stand, you have like a painful stomach. I know some people say they get pains in their stomach when they experience anxieties. What other things that
you like have parasomnia, so you sleep a lot or you don't sleep at all.
Fast heartbeat, palpitations, headaches. I know people have had headaches with anxieties, and it's really just, it causes you not to be able to do something that you would think normally you should be able to do. So that's one of the things in terms of anxieties, and they can come from a young age, or they can be like, what I mean is late onset and early onset. So with early onset anxieties, normally, especially with mental health issues, there's a lot of triggers. So you'll hear the word trigger a lot. So trigger things that happen in your life. For example, you can have an anxiety due to a phobia. So if I'm scared, one of my worst like fears is rats. Like I don't know what happens with rats, but when I see them, it's not going down. Like it's not healthy. So you can have due to triggers. So you can have phobia triggers. You can have situational triggers to anxieties. So perhaps if, for example, you have been you experience some type of sexual violence, when you're around someone who might look like that person, smell those smells, or maybe you watch a movie and it's a similar situation that happens, you get triggered, you start panicking, you start having all those symptoms that I've mentioned.
You can also have what is it called? What's that anxiety called? Basically, like when you don't want to go on a stage, but that's also like a phobia. Stage fright. Like stage fright.
Or being social phobia. That's the word, social phobia. So interacting with people, being in a place where you have to speak and communicate, being in a place where you have to stand up for yourself, and those kind of things can be triggers for you, because maybe when you were at home, they didn't allow you to speak, they didn't allow you to interact, so now you're thrown into this space, and then you might be triggered. So anxieties, and sometimes they might not necessarily be a trigger. I've read about people just have random anxiety bouts where all of a sudden they're sitting and then boom, they start so it depends, and we all experience it differently. I think what I just mentioned is just like sort of a general overview of what people experience during anxieties, myself included. Anything you want to add about anxieties?
I think anxiety as well, something that I think we might not know a lot about is that anxiety can be cured or
managed.
You understand?
Right.
So it's not something that you always have to be, because I know literally people have anxiety about having anxiety attacks or panic attacks.
Right.
And then it becomes something where you kind of, in your mind already, it's like you're always in a constant state of something is going to happen, so you're always heightened. I remember something that happened recently. I had my first panic attack.
Woohoo!
No. It was we came back from the holidays and I was just very, very stressed. There was a lot of things going on academically, and it became very debilitating. When she speaks about situational anxiety, where something will cause you to become anxious, for me it was just a couple of days, just leading up to that, and I was under a lot of stress and I wasn't really talking about it. I mean, I'm a psychology student, so very ironic. I'll be sitting there like studying for a test or something, and I'm reading like symptoms. I'm like, yep, that's me. But we don't necessarily have the time or the tools necessarily to I guess confront them. So what will happen, I just swept it under the rug and went on. And then literally I was sitting in the meeting and I felt myself starting to cry, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I went to the bathroom and I prayed. I was like, Jesus, please just hold me together for this meeting. I can cry later. And I went back into the meeting. And I sat there, and it was another 2 minutes, and I literally just stood up, went up to the person who was heading the meeting, said, I'm sorry, I can't sit. I started crying already. And I just went up to my room, locked my door, and I handled it like a big girl. I'm like, I know what this is, so I'm going to sit there, let it pass. I remember being on my phone with my dad. I called him, and he talked me through it, and then it was done. But I think lack of knowledge will lead you to be very, very anxious. If you don't know what something is, you're never going to be prepared on how to handle it. Because I knew what it was not so much of a panic attack. I knew what was going on, and I was like, I'm going to handle this, and then I'm going to move forward and to know how to handle it further. It hasn't happened after that. Depression is basically a mood disorder, and I don't want to go too much into like the whole indoctrination system and all of that, because that's just talking over my head sometimes as well, and other people's head. I just want to speak about it on a, I guess, experiential level. Okay. So I think what happens first with individuals is like you kind of feel just like you're in a slump for a long while, and you're just sad for a long time, and you don't know why. And the different symptoms that people experience, like I say, you have insomnia or parasomnia. And I think as especially as university students, we've made peace with just being these workaholics that just don't sleep, that you might not even see it for what it is, but it's not healthy. Like you sleeping, let's say at 5 o'clock every morning, is not just the way that you are. It's a problem. So you have insomnia or parasomnia, which I've experienced both. Like I slept too little, or I'm just like, yo, I could do this all day. You understand? You sad most of the time, all of the time. You losing a lot of weight or gaining a lot of weight. Right. And that's the other thing. I think it's hard when your friend looks fine, like she's not losing weight or he's not losing weight, and he's putting on weight, and you're just like, oh no, you must be fine. But overeating is also a sign of that, you understand? So either if somebody is losing a lot of weight or gaining a lot of weight, could be a sign of that. It could be a lack of energy. You just literally have energy for nothing at all. You can't get yourself to do things that you would usually do easily. I experienced that, for example, sitting in front of my books, and nobody else knows how serious this is, but guess what? I can't bring myself to study. I just don't have energy. It was a thing where I would go to class. That's the thing about me, is that I used to be a functional depressed person, so I was still able to function while being depressed, and I'm going to talk about that on a different video. But I would always show up for my classes. Girl was always in class. I was always at church. I'm a leader, in our structure, so best believe I was there counseling other people. So I would show up and do things, but I still was in that state of, that slump, that depression. So you sometimes have no energy to do anything. So my routine was I would go to class, come back and sleep all day, and then go to leaders meeting or go to a home cell or do anything. And that was kind of the side or routine like that. There's also you either have psychomotor retardation or agitation. So either you like very moving a lot, or you just don't have, like, it relates to the whole energy thing, where you just slow with everything, things that wouldn't take you as long. It's like walking from here to there, like taking you forever, you understand?
Even when you're speaking, it's slow.
Yes, it's very it's like life takes a lot out of you. In terms of energy. I think also suicidal thoughts and ideations, not necessarily an attempt, but if you're starting to think a lot, like,
why am I here?
Why should I? You understand? So that's already a thing. And then ideations, like in your mind, you're already thinking, I would drink these pills, or I would, drown myself, or I would jump in, whatever. When these ideas come into your mind, these fantasies about what will happen if I'm not around, that's something that you look into. And a sense of hopelessness, like. And that's the sad thing about...
And worthlessness.
Yes, worthlessness, low self-esteem and hopelessness. It's so sad, but it's almost like you can't see beyond your sadness now. You can't see beyond, I'm not okay now. And, I mean, I'm going to talk about it later again. I'm very passionate about mental health. I mean, that's why I'm dedicating my life and my career to this. But it's almost like this lie. And I'm going to talk about this real talk because I'm Christian. I know very well. I'm studying this, so I understand it from the physiological and psychological, but best believe this is spiritual. Like, there is no way. Like, I've seen too much. No, you're not going to convince me otherwise. And so it's almost like this lie from the enemy that you just can't get beyond now. Like, it's so bad now that my life has to end now as well. Like, there's a sense of hopelessness, like there's no better. but you've had better days before, so why
it dulls all your senses, really. It really does.
So I think those are kind of the signs that you need to look out for with depression. Major depressive episodes that last about 2 weeks when you feel like that, and then you feel fine again, and then maybe a month later it comes back. Then just look out for those signs, because like she says, if you don't have a sense of awareness, you won't even know what you're fighting, or you just might feel like I'm just a sad person, or my vibe is just really low, and it's not, or I'm just an anxious person, and that's not who you are. So it's very important to know, to be informed. I just want to touch on because this is obviously a video for those who might be struggling with exactly what we're saying, but you might also have family members and friends who are struggling with that. You know, with the major depressive disorder, like she said, it's a period of 2 weeks where the person, number one, has like depressed mood, number one, and number two, basically doesn't find joy. Doesn't find joy in things that they would usually find joy. So if you, for example, are a person who loves to hang out with people and cook, and all of a sudden you can't stand people and you can't stand cooking and you don't want to do that anymore, and it's been a period of 2 weeks and you're sad, and you see whether you're sleeping all the time or eating all the time, there are different manifestations, crying, all those symptoms that she's mentioned, then you are probably in a major depressive episode, and that's when you really need to seek the most medical assistance, because at that time it's when the suicidal ideation can actually become to action. I think those are the important points.
Why are you laughing? It's so deep.
So we want to just talk about something that is really, really important, especially as girls who are Christian. A lot of the times there's this perpetuated stereotype or belief, I might even say it's a delusion, really.
Stigmatization.
It's really that a person who's under Christ can't seek professional psychological and psychiatric help, you know, to assist in helping them get from places of, you know, those disorders that we've said, to function normally. There's this thing where, you know, you need to pray more, or you need to read more of your Bible, or you need to have faith more. I mean, I've heard people say that to me before, and it's very difficult, because I'm going to use an example, and then Divine will elaborate more. But for example, when someone has lost someone, you know, let's say someone passed away, someone who's so close to you, I can guarantee you from my personal experience, the last thing you want to hear is pray, or even be strong. That's the last thing. The thing that you want to do when you're going through loss is someone to sit with you, to hold you, if you're able to speak, to just hear you out, to reminisce on that person and the memories. That's the kind of thing. And then eventually you find yourself getting stronger and stronger enough to be able to pray. Because there are times where it even says in the Bible where Christ says that I am made strong when you're weak. Because sometimes you get so weak that you can't even, do you know what I mean? So in those times, that's when you really need people, support system, people who can pray on your behalf, people who can stand on your behalf. So now the point that I'm trying to get to is that when you're having mental issues, you also need that kind of support. You really need that kind of support from people you trust, people you love, people who are spiritual people, who can really center you back into the Word of God, but in a way where it's liberating rather than confounding, you know, rather than caging or making you feel like how you feel right now doesn't matter, or it's not warranted, or it needs to be dealt with ASAP, you know, without giving you the space and the freedom to actually, you know, cry to God, wrestle with God, you know, to pour your heart out to God, to say, you know what, God, I'm really upset, I'm really in pain, mentally I'm not okay. And those are the things that you should be able to do to God, because God did say, come to me. Do you know what I mean? God is I feel like that's one, you know. So I think the shift that I'm trying to say is that when we go through situations, we should definitely run to God, but you should never feel that your feelings and your mental issues are not warranted in the presence of God, and they can't stand in His presence.
Sure. What she's saying is so true, because like I said, I'm studying this, you know. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and at the same time, I am a leader. Beyond being a leader, I'm a Christian, and me and Jesus are like this. Like
he truly is my best friend. Like
he really is my best friend. And for the longest time, especially the higher I went into leadership in church, I'm not a pastor, don't worry. But the more I started becoming a leader of many people, it's almost like I got to a point where I started feeling bad whenever I had like a moment of weakness, or when I felt sad, or when I felt, you know, these different things that were coming up, when I felt anxious. It's almost like it was just like, why don't you just pray? Why don't you just trust God? Why don't you just, you know, pray in tongues? And listen, me and my tongues, I can pray in tongues for hours. That doesn't warrant the fact that we, you know, we kind of put up these walls and these humans that are never supposed to feel. I know somebody who told me, and I you know, I went to this person, I was like, yeah, I'm struggling with 1, 2, 3, and here's the thing, I'm a leader of leaders, so I know what to tell people, what to say, or whatever, but right now I'm struggling. And I'm really finding it difficult. Should I? And I was just asking for counsel. Should I go to a psychologist on campus and all of that, you know, seek help and everything? And I was told, just pray about it. You don't need a psychologist. You need to spend time in God's presence. And I never felt more gutted. I was like, oh my God. Like, so should I just...
Like, should I intensify my prayers to like...
Beyond even that, I was like, should I just stop studying what I'm studying? Because... this is what you understand. If somebody gets cut, if right now a plane falls and cuts Nox here, I'm not gonna say, Nox, let's pray in tongues. You understand? You gotta tend to the wound practically. And the thing about mental health is that because it's internal bleeding that's not visible, we don't always take note of that. If she had a cut on her forehead that was untreated for a couple of days, everybody around will be like, girl, it's starting to stink, this thing is turning purple, you know, your face, it's getting infected. And some people are carrying wounds from years, and it's seen in everything. They bleed on everything, they lash out on people, have anger issues, and we just say pray about it. And that's not the right way to go about it. Ask God. I was like, God, am I always gonna feel this way? Am I always gonna laugh with the lump in my throat? Am I gonna study with the lump in my throat? Am I gonna love, you know, with the lump in my throat? And he said to me, no, you won't. And so I definitely understand that there is healing in God, but God doesn't discard my feelings. God doesn't just say, spend time in my presence. I mean, Elijah, who was doing the most, and I love his story because I've never related to somebody more. Going from the tops of my life, you understand, feeling like I had so many victories, and it was the most amazing thing. Here's Elijah, literally defeated the prophets of Baal, like literally prayed down, fire fell, like I'm telling you, it was lit, like killed 400 prophets, the whole nation turns back to God. And guess what happens a few verses later? Elijah is sitting under a tree, is like, God, take me now, it's fine.
He's depressed, he's done.
He's like, God, he was depressed. I mean, you read the book of Psalms, like, I don't know a person that was more depressed than David. If you read the things he writes about, this guy was in so much agony, and he was still a man after God's own heart. So can we please stop making people...
To me, it's as if it's mutually exclusive.
You
can't be, you know, someone who's dealing with things, because we all are, and still love God. It's like we try to separate that. And
and that's not okay.
That's not okay.
That's not okay. Jesus had moments of sadness when he said, yo, Jesus...
And I think that's the greatest deception of the evil one, is trying to make you, isolate you, make you feel like you're the only one who's going through this, make you feel like you're the only one who will ever go through this, making you feel dirty and unworthy, making you feel like, how come you are the one who's struggling with this? Look at all your friends. But like she said, internal bleeds, nobody can see them.
Everybody is dealing with something.